Good evening, and welcome to News Channel Name. Our top story tonight. The United States has launched a series of retaliatory strikes in Syria, following the tragic deaths of 3 Americans in a targeted attack earlier this month. According to officials, the fatalities included 2 U.S. soldiers and a civilian contractor who were killed in an ambush near Palmyra, Syria. The attack has been described by U.S. authorities as deliberate and coordinated, attributed to elements linked to the Islamic State. The deaths have prompted a strong response from the U.S. military, which moved swiftly to target positions associated with those responsible. The operation, which began in the early hours of Thursday morning, involved a combination of airstrikes, artillery support, and coordination with allied forces in the region. U.S. Central Command reports that more than 70 targets were struck, including weapons depots, logistical hubs, and command centers associated with terrorist activity. These strikes are being described as precision operations designed to minimize civilian casualties while dismantling the operational capabilities of extremist groups in central Syria. Jordanian air forces reportedly participated in the operation alongside U.S. forces, marking a notable display of regional cooperation against militant threats. U.S. officials emphasized that the strikes were carefully planned and targeted, and that they were conducted with the goal of sending a strong message to anyone contemplating attacks on American personnel abroad. President Donald Trump, speaking from the White House this morning, called the strikes a measured yet decisive response to the recent attack. He stated that the United States would not tolerate violence against its citizens and would continue to take necessary action to protect Americans serving overseas. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth reinforced the president's comments, highlighting the importance of maintaining a strong posture against extremist threats and emphasizing that the operation was conducted in coordination with allied forces in the region. Eyewitness reports from the area affected by the strikes indicate that multiple facilities were hit, resulting in significant damage to infrastructure used by the militant groups, while early assessments suggest that a number of high-value targets were neutralized. U.S. officials caution that efforts to fully dismantle terrorist networks in Syria will require sustained engagement and intelligence-driven operations over the coming weeks and months. The situation in Syria remains complex, with multiple factions vying for control in the wake of the country's prolonged conflict. Analysts warn that retaliatory strikes, while necessary to respond to attacks on U.S. personnel, carry inherent risks. The possibility of escalation or unintended consequences remains, particularly in regions where militant groups operate in close proximity to civilian populations. In response to the strikes, the Syrian monitoring group, known as the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, reported that at least 5 members of the Islamic State were killed during the operations. While these numbers are preliminary, they underscore the targeted nature of the campaign and the U.S. commitment to neutralizing threats before they can harm American personnel or allies in the region. Regional reactions to the strikes have been mixed. Jordan has expressed full support for the U.S. action, citing shared interests in combating terrorism and stabilizing border areas vulnerable to extremist infiltration. The transitional government in Syria, which now exercises limited control in parts of the country, has publicly acknowledged ongoing coalition efforts to counter terrorist activity, signaling a degree of cooperation despite complex political dynamics in the region. Meanwhile, intelligence sources indicate that the recent attack on U.S. personnel involved sophisticated planning and likely included the use of insider knowledge. This underscores the ongoing challenges facing U.S. forces operating in volatile regions and highlights the need for robust security measures to protect both military personnel and civilians supporting operations abroad. Military analysts note that the retaliatory strikes serve multiple strategic purposes. Beyond the immediate goal of neutralizing militants, they also function as a deterrent, signaling to hostile groups that attacks on U.S. personnel will provoke decisive responses. The operation also reaffirms the United States' commitment to working with regional partners to address threats before they escalate into broader conflicts. From a tactical perspective, the strikes employed precision-guided munitions, unmanned aerial surveillance, and real-time intelligence coordination between U.S. and allied forces. This approach allowed for targeted engagement of enemy positions while minimizing collateral damage. Defense officials have highlighted that the operation reflects lessons learned from previous engagements in the region, where intelligence-driven strategies proved critical in achieving mission objectives without unnecessary civilian harm. The broader international community has been closely monitoring the situation. NATO allies and partner nations have expressed varying degrees of support for U.S. action, with many emphasizing the importance of upholding international law and ensuring that counterterrorism operations adhere to established norms. Experts caution that while military action may address immediate threats, long-term stability in Syria will require comprehensive political solutions and coordinated humanitarian assistance to address the ongoing crisis. In addition to military considerations, U.S. officials are closely evaluating potential ramifications for regional security. The strikes come at a time when Syria remains a focal point for multiple foreign interests. including Russia, Iran, and various regional powers. Analysts suggest that any escalation in military activity could affect diplomatic negotiations, humanitarian operations, and the delicate balance of power in the Middle East. Security analysts also point to the importance of public communication in such operations. By providing timely updates on the strikes and their objectives, U.S. authorities aim to maintain transparency with both domestic and international audiences. Clear communication helps mitigate misinformation, reassures allies of U.S. commitments, and underscores the strategic rationale behind military action. Looking ahead, U.S. officials have made it clear that additional operations may be necessary to fully neutralize the threats posed by extremist networks. This includes ongoing intelligence gathering, coordination with regional partners, and potential future strikes targeting high-value individuals and operational hubs. The emphasis remains on precision, proportionality, and minimizing unintended consequences while safeguarding American lives. In conclusion, the retaliatory strikes in Syria, following the deaths of 3 Americans, represent a significant and decisive action by the United States in response to a direct threat to its personnel. While the operation demonstrates military capability and strategic resolve, it also highlights the ongoing challenges of maintaining security and stability in a region marked by complex conflicts, multiple armed actors, and fragile governance structures. As this story continues to develop, we will provide updates on the outcomes of the strikes, regional reactions, and any further U.S. military or diplomatic responses. For now, the message from Washington is clear. Attacks on American citizens and personnel will not go unanswered, and the United States remains committed to protecting its people and allies in volatile regions around the world. This concludes our detailed coverage on the U.S. retaliatory strikes in Syria. Stay with News Channel Name for continuing updates and expert analysis on this evolving situation.